It's not our road. Our road is intellect. Our road is Chabad Hasidus. We leave that for the Polish Hasidim. But the Rebbe wrote, this is a letter that we have. Our generation, this generation needs it. That's how the Rebbe expressed it. This generation needs it. We need this. We need the focus on miracles, even though we're working on our mind, but we need to be able to inspire our heart at the same time. Everything we're doing tonight should be, we'll call it missiles of Torah, missiles of God, missiles of protection to the land of Israel and the people of Israel and every single person in Israel. As the Rebbe would say again and again and again, Israel is the safest land. It's the land where the eyes of God are on always, from the beginning of the year to the end of the year, and then becomes the beginning of the year and then becomes the end of the year. Obviously, God watches everything, every detail, every blowing leaf and blade of grass. And yet the verse says the eyes of God are on Israel. So even more special, divine, absolute protection. And we should all see with our physical eyes how the land of Israel is truly the safest place in the world, the best place in the world, the most secure place in the world. And very interesting, the connection to our Torah portion, where in the Torah portion we're saying, no, this is a very, very good land. This is our land. We're keeping it. It's ours. And we're protecting it. It's ours. And we're protecting the lives of the Jews. It's ours. So our class should also, beyond the dedication for the Yartzeit and for Israel, should also bring a healing to Dov Ber ben Devorah Riva, Devorah Leah, Bas, Rus Ahuva Liba, Asher Avraham ben Rivka, Sheva Chai Moshka Bas Neto, Leifege Bas Gittel, Chai Drezel Bas from Bracha, and Dov Ber ben Cyril Rachel. Amazing the power. One class, and we create so much energy for so many things. All right, with all those introductions, let us get started. So we are in the introduction of Tanya. We are in what is called the Sha'ar Blot. The Sha'ar Blot means the gate page of Tanya. The gate page is basically like what today would be the back of a book or the flap of a book, where we say, what's the statement of purpose? What's this all about? We said the names, the official names, Likutei Amarim and Sefer Shel Beinonim. We analyzed and dissected those names a bit. It's a collection. The Alter Rebbe's absolute humility. This is all statements. This is all from others. This is all in the sources. The subtitle, Sefer Shel Beinonim, that's the purpose of the book, that every Jew accesses his potential to be, as we say, a Beinoni in the language of Tanya. The Alter Rebbe writes where he got this from. Mipi Seifrim, Mipi Sfarim. We have the Sfarim, that's listed first, Mipi Sfarim, Mipi Seifrim. The Sfarim, we said, are basically works of Kabbalah, and also the writings of the Rambam, which is not Kabbalah. We have Maral Prague and the Shla, Rishis Chachma, and the Seifrim, the people that impacted the Alter Rebbe, the Baal Shem Tov, the Maggid, Rav Mendel Haradok. From all these sources that he drew, over 20 years of work emerged the Tanya. Well, what's the Tanya about? We said the Tanya is to explain us a verse. We have 53 chapters, so we should understand one verse. What is that verse? Moses is telling the Jewish people, the end of the 40 years, about to enter into Israel. The matter, the thing, the connection to God, the service of God is so close to you. It's very close, very accessible, very near, very doable. We unpack that all three expressions of our soul, in our thought, in our speech, in our actions, in all the ways the soul can manifest itself, it is so easy and natural and doable to be completely connected to God. And we said, really? Rebbe said, absolutely. I'm going to explain it to you with the help of God. This will only work with the help of God. I'm going to teach you the long road and the short road to accessing a life where service of God is absolute and natural and just you. What was the long road? We said the long road, because the long road and the short road are both using your mind. This is Chabad Hasidus. We use the mind to impact the heart. The long road, we said, was studying, learning concepts about God, and then delving into them with your mind, intellectually immersing yourself, complete what we would call in the Hebrew hispoinenos, contemplation, meditation, filling your mind with godliness, until from there it emerges an enormous emotion you've created for God. It's almost like you can imagine a dam where the water is stopped. There's something stopping that water. And the water is building up and building up and building up and building up and building up. And then you open up that dam and psh, the waters come forth with such strength. That's sort of like what's going on in the mind. First, you're learning concepts about God, and then you think. And as you think, you do not allow emotions to be expressed. This is intellectual. You're thinking and thinking and thinking. And meanwhile, the emotions are building up and building up and building up in your soul. You're creating and creating emotions. No, we hold off as long as we can until like the waters are going to rush over the dam, until we can't contain ourselves anymore. And then we allow the emotions out. And that's the strength of the emotions created by our thoughts, made with our own hands, so to speak, man-made. Created love and fear of God, which are so powerful and so precious to God, because we did it ourselves. Used our mind to pull out from our soul these deep, deep, deep powers to create intellectually created emotion, which we will learn much later in Tanya, is so powerful. And when we use that to serve God, wow, do those things fly high, high, high. That's the long road, the first 17 chapters of Tanya. The short road is from chapter 18 to chapter 25, where we're again using our mind. This is Chabad Hasidus. We use our mind, but it's called short because these ideas are allowing us to access a love and fear we already have. It's short because time-wise it's short. Short implying easier because you're not creating. You're uncovering what was implanted in your soul. What are the ideas we think about? We think about God. Oh, I think about God in the long way also. True. The long way, I'm understanding God, and I'm primarily thinking of God in terms of power, God's kindness, God's awesomeness, God's strength, God's proximity, God's distance, or creation. In the short road, I'm thinking about God in terms of He is all is Him. I'm thinking and delving into the ideas that Hasidus uses the overarching term, the unity of God. I'm contemplating how there's only God. There's nothing but God. Everything is God. And of course, that idea is fleshed out over 7 chapters, but that's basically the idea. And the more I think and have various hooks and concepts to flesh this idea out, which of course is what we are doing in the Chitas of these last days in Shar Yich B'Emunah, the more I delve and delve and delve in the unity of God, what I come to is a realization that me too, that I'm also part of the oneness of God. Because of course, we're independent players. I mean, that's how we view ourselves. Again, in the most godly way, we can view ourselves as independent players. It's not only that evil has erroneous views of God. Also on the side of godliness, there is some sense of self, some sense of separation. Obviously, God created me. Obviously, I'm an extension of God's energy, but there's some independence, some separation. And the more you delve in the concept of the ones of God, the more you realize, no, it's all Him. Everything is Him. I too am Him. And from there, I recognize that God gave man, gave the Jew, the most insane ability. Insane. The more you understand the oneness of God, the more insane it is, because Jews have the ability to rebel. And that makes absolutely no sense. And the more you understand God, and the more you understand the oneness of God, the more you understand that makes absolutely no sense. But God gave us that power, which means that I could choose to go against God's will. I could, actually, we do. Now, if you understand the unity of God, that doesn't make sense, because how could we go against what we are? Where's the room for this independence and choice? And we're Him. We're one with Him. We're all Him. Everything is Him. But God set up His world that we can have this illusion of separation, this illusion of freedom of choice, this illusion that we can choose to go against God. I say illusion, even though, of course, freedom of choice is a true principle of faith, and we do have freedom of choice. But at the same time, nothing's ever outside of God's reality, including our transgressions. So we might be transgressing, but it's all part of God's master plan. I'm making my independent choices, but trust me, they're all within the script. But when I get it, when I understand that all is God, that there's nothing but God, that my reality is part of God's reality, and then I look at the choices I might make or perhaps have made, and I'm like, wait, anytime I am choosing or thinking or feeling against God's will, this is denying. This is denying who He is. This is Idolatry. Why is it idolatry? I'm gossiping and not good. But why is that idolatry? It's a refined version of idolatry. Because if I can do something against God's will, that means I'm outside his reality. If I'm outside his reality, that means something is outside his reality, me. And that means it's not all him. So if it's all him and it's only him, that's God, only God, completely God, unity of God. If there's God plus me, it's not all God. If I don't think it's all God, that's idolatry. I'm not denying him. I'm denying his oneness. Denying his oneness is, in a refined way, denying him. In a refined way, idolatry. And if I can really think that thought, I feel the danger latent within any transgression. The danger of separating myself from God. The danger of not connecting. And this sense of danger, this peril, what a transgression could engender, pulls out of me such deep, deep reservoirs of love and awe of God. I will not be separated. No way. I'm part of his reality. It's all his reality. There's nothing but his reality. So I'm saying very, very briefly, a lot of very deep ideas, but this is the shorter road of Tanya, of our two options. But in the end of the day, time-wise and effort-wise, it's shorter, it's easier, because where this is leading to is accessing, by your sense of danger, by the self-sacrifice, the catalyst of all these thoughts, you actually access the deep, deep love and fear buried in your soul. So in both of these roads, long and short, we got to the same point. It's tremendous love and fear of God. And that is the Alter Rebbe's answer to our query. It doesn't seem so easy. So it's close. Not is it close, it's very close. We're like, really? The Alter Rebbe says, really. Love and fear, and everything else is automatic. Mm-hmm. So how do I love and fear? That's what I'm going to teach you. First 17 chapters, I teach you how to create a love and fear. From 18 to 25, I teach you how to uncover the even deeper love and fear. And as we go through Tanya, we find there's many levels of love and fear that God gifted our soul. And that's the long road and short road. So we will now say there's another layer of understanding what the Rebbe is saying. If you look inside the language of the Tanya, which is very precise, we said 20 years, 53 chapters, 20 years, the Alter Rebbe contemplating 6 weeks for one letter. The Alter Rebbe writes, we're going to explain this very well. L'var heitev, echel karav ma'od, b'derech arucha uktsara, b'ezras Hashem yisbarach, which we explain simply, b'derech arucha, in a long way, uktsara, and a short way, chapter 1 through 17, 18 through 25, with the help of God. Another way of looking at these words is we're going to explain b'derech arucha uktsara. The Alter Rebbe says, I'm laying you out a road. I'm laying you out a roadmap. I'm guiding you. This is your GPS for the soul. I'm guiding you to God, and the road we're going is the derech arucha uktsara, the long, short road. Now that reference of a long, short road actually goes back to the Talmud. And in the Talmud, in discussing how wise are the children of Jerusalem, Talmud relates a vignette that happened with a traveler, where a traveler is somewhere outside Jerusalem, and I don't remember if he's trying to get to Jerusalem or another city, but a Jerusalemite, a Jerusalem child, a Yerushalmi, always the same, a Yerushalmi child is there, and the traveler sees there's 2 roads, and he doesn't know which one leads to the city. So he says to the child, I want to get to the city. Which road should I take? You're obviously a native. I obviously am clueless. And the child said, well, do you want the long, short road or the short, long road? He's like, long, short, or short, long? I just want to get to the city. Do you want the long, short road or the short, long road? He's thinking, long, short, long. I want the short road, obviously. Give me the short, long road. Sure, go that way. The traveler goes, and you could fill your imagination with what pitfalls he met. The lions, the tigers, the bears, the robbers, the quicksand. It was really not a road anyone should travel. He comes back all upset at the child, and there he's sitting right there at the crossroads. He says, what did you do to me? You told me to go that road. That's an impossible road. Child said, I said to you, you want the long short or the short long? I said, give me the long short road. He said, sure, take this path. Take the other fork. He goes the other road, and it's a long road. It's a long road. It takes him a long time, but he makes it safe, sound, unscathed to the city. The wisdom of the Yerushalmi children, of the children of Jerusalem. So what does this mean? Long, short, short, long. So in essence, we could say the long, short road means a road that's long, but ultimately it's short because you get to your destination. The short, long road is shorter, it's quicker, it's faster, it's easier, but it's long because you never really arrive. So when the Alter Rebbe is saying, I'm creating a roadmap, a guide, a way for you to fulfill the verse and really have a full relationship with God. This is a long, short road. It's long. It's a lot of inner work, but it's short because you're going to get there. And that's exactly the expression of what is classically Chabad Hasidus. What was the innovation of the Alter Rebbe? You know, the Alter Rebbe was from the inner circle of his teacher and predecessor, the Maggid of Mezrich. And after the passing of the Maggid, they have the inner circle, all tzaddikim, all incredibly godly people. They're called the Chavraya Kedisha, the Holy Assembly, the most elite, so to speak, students. Each one of them became leaders in their own right of the Jewish people. And after the passing of the Maggid, they picked lots. Which portion of the Maggid's body would you merit to give tahara to purify after his passing? And the Alter Rebbe got the brain, the head. And that was obviously a clear indication of what his job was. This is what he was given. As the Maggid told him, you've got to go to the camp of the opposition. You've got to deal with a very big no of that camp of the opposition. You've got to go to that camp, and that's an intellectual camp. Those are cold, intellectual people that think they have mastered Torah. And you have to show them, because you have to have an even greater mastery. You have an intellectual mastery and transform that intellect. Crush that intellect, crush that no, and God will turn the no to a yes. Everything was beyond what we can understand, to the degree that it says that when they finished purifying and they put the Maggid's body into the mikvah, it toiveled itself. The Maggid, after he passed away, his body toiveled itself, because this is death and life, and this is beyond anything we know in the world as we know it. So the Alter Rebbe is saying, I'm giving you a derech haruchu ktsara. I'm giving you a long road. You have to use your mind. You got to work hard. Either approach of the Alter Rebbe, as I'm saying, requires intellectual work and independent work. Nobody's feeding this to you. Obviously, there's the Rebbe. Obviously, there are other followers, disciples, Hasidim, guys. But at the end of the day, it's a lot of inner work. Learn, think, contemplate, meditate, work, change yourself. Look at what I'm giving you as your roadmap to your reality and work on it. Derech Harucha, it's a long road. You got to do hard inner work. Any of us have learned any Tanya know there's a lot of work that's demanded, but it's a short road because you'll get there. So when we look in terms of approaches to getting close to God, the Alter Rebbe is saying his is the long, short road, and both paths, meaning the long road of the first 17 chapters or the short road of 1825, both of them are branches of the long, short road. Both of them require independent work. Both of them require intellectual work. Both of them require a lot of inner service and searching of oneself and changing and refining oneself. All of Chabad Hasidus is about the inner journey of refinement. We speak of an animal. Take an animal. You take the hide of an animal. This is an animal hide. What's so coarse? It's a stinking, thick, rough animal hide. But if you know what you're doing and you work it and you work it and you work it and you work it, that animal hide becomes a parchment. A Torah scroll can be written on. And in the Hebrew language, that working, transforming an animal skin to a Torah scroll, is called Oiros Avudim, the avoida, the work with those skins. And Chabad Hasidus, the long, short road, it's the work with ourselves. We're that animal, and we're uncovering that every one of us is like a living, dancing, luminous Torah scroll. What will be the contrast point to understand this? We said the short, long road. What would the short, long road be in this vision of coming closer to God? Basically, it would be roads that in the short term are effective and can get you closer, but they're short and long because you never completely, so to speak, arrive. Basically, it would mean approaches that are impacting not transformation of the mind, but inspiration of the heart. Because if the heart is inspired, you could do a lot of things. And you have a lot of energy, you have a lot of enthusiasm, and you could really be on fire. But then if the inspiration fades, as of course all inspiration fades, where are you? Back to where you started, because there was no inner change. There was an outside force that ignited your emotions. So in the road we call Musar, the Musar movement, that outside force is these very strong words of rebuke that make you realize how lowly you are, and that inspires you to work and be a better person. But again, it's outside inspiration, not inner transformation. It fades. Or the road of what we call Chagas Hasidus, the other groups of Hasidim besides Chabad. Chagas means the emotions, the primary emotions. So when you have the emotions, you can be very inspired. And that's the road of, as I said, all the Hasidic groups besides Chabad, that what I call the Polish Hasidim, who are very connected to a spiritual leader, to a Rebbe, and they go to the Rebbe's table, and they hear the songs, and they get the leftovers from the Rebbe's food, and they have contact with the Rebbe, and they're very inspired. And that inspiration lasts them for a while. And when it fades, they go back. So it's the short road. It's easier. It's not requiring inner work and inner transformation, and we're not, taking some animal hides and making them a Torah scroll. You go, you sing, you eat, you're inspired. It fades, go back. So that's the contrast point of the derech, the way that's long and short. Long, a lot of work, a lot of time, but short, you will change. You will become this godly person, as versus the short, long road, which is affecting the emotions, inspirational, easier to access, and then fades. So you never really arrived because there was no inner chain. Go back and get another dose. So in traditional Chabad Hasidus, it was two very clear roads, and they were very different. And that's why originally, by the Rabbeim, going back 7 generations, there was no focus on miracles. I think maybe it was Rebbetzin Sterna said, I don't remember which one of the Rebbetzins said that, by the Alter Rebbe, maybe also by the Mittler Rebbe, miracles were rolling under the benches, and no one bent down to pick them up. I mean, of course, there was constant miracles with the Rebbe. There's miracles, but nobody's focusing on them because that's not Chabad Hasidus. This is the Derech HaRuch Uktzara, the long, short road. This is the road of inner transformation. This is the road of the mind. During the leadership of the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, the Rebbe Rayatz, the father-in-law of the current Rebbe, there's a letter that the Rebbe wrote his father-in-law and Rebbe, the Rebbe Rayatz. And the Rebbe asked the Rebbe Rayatz to share, to tell, to focus on miracles. The Rebbe said, our generation needs it. So we today, as the 7th generation of Chabad Hasidus, honestly, our Chabad Hasidus doesn't look exactly like in the times of the Alter Rebbe. We have, of course, that far more than they did because we have 7 generations of Chabad Hasidus that we know and can work through and can think about. But we're not the greatest intellectuals out there. And we might not have the greatest focus and depth. We try. The Rebbe Rayatz, the previous Lubavitcher Rebbe, he said this in the 1940s, I believe, right when he was in America. And he said then that, as we would say in Jene Zeiten, in previous generations, Hasidim knew so much less and lived it, internalized it so much more. That was said either in the 1930s or in the 1940s. Don't want to misquote. I think we could say in 2025, it's a lot more, meaning we have such a wealth of knowledge on our laptop, on our phone, in English or any other language probably we choose, we've learned, we've absorbed, we know a lot. Chabad Hasidus demands live it, learn it, internalize it, live it. That's the long, short road. That's Chabad Hasidus. Of course, you could say, whoa, I know so much. How can I internalize all this? Okay. So pick the ideas that most resonate. Pick what you really, really feel that connection to and try to internalize it. That's Chabad Hasidus. At the same time, in the 7th generation, we've integrated some of Chagas Hasidus as well, which means we are not only purely working on our mind to create the emotions, we also work on the emotions directly. We have that through Febranians, we have that through Nigunim, through the songs, and of course, we have that through focusing on the miracles. As the Rebbe says, we're supposed to publicize miracles, and that's a road to bring Mashiach. That's a road to great redemption. So we have all the intellect, far more than any generation before. We are exposed to far more. We know far more. Let's try to live it. And we have at the same time so many opportunities to inspire our emotions as well. To have the advantage of the long, short road and the advantage of the short, long road. We definitely need both.
Can you repeat what the Rebbe asked the Frierdiker Rebbe to publicize Nissim?
Yes, to focus on them, because until then, it was considered like pasnished, not appropriate for a Chabad Chassid to focus on miracles. It's not our road. Our road is intellect. Our road is Chabad Chassidus. We leave that for the Polish Chassidim. But the Rebbe wrote, this is a letter that we have. Our generation, this generation needs it. That's how the Rebbe expressed it. This generation needs it. We need this. We need the focus on miracles, even though we're working on our mind, but we need to be able to inspire our heart at the same time. It's really amazing, and there's such gifts we have. We're told that the Rebbe Rashab, the 5th Lubavitch Rebbe, personally selected every student of Tomchei Tmimim, of Lubavitch Yeshiva that he established the first time there was a yeshiva where people are learning Chassidus, like you learn a piece of Gemara. And we sort of amplify that concept and understand that every Chassid, every person who's learning Chassidus, in essence, was chosen, has a special gift that his soul can connect to the source of light, to Chassidus. And as we connect, we have the obligation to really work with that light and work on ourselves and see how is that light making me a different person. It's not just I have a lot of knowledge. How is it transforming me? That's the reason God is sharing with us the inner secrets, God's inner secrets. Why am I? Who are we? Like all of us. You can meet someone, they can ask you the most deep philosophical existential questions, and you'd have all these answers tripping off your lips. Who are you? You're someone that learned Hasidus, someone that learned Chabad Hasidus. We are given such precious, precious richness, and with a goal in mind, that we should use it and try to really change ourselves because of it. And sometimes, of course, some Hasidus, like in Tanya, is very obvious, the growth and the work. And sometimes you can learn Hasidus and you're learning it and you're serious about it and you're focused on it, but you don't really see how it's, like, as we could say, personally applicable. But every time we learn Hasidus, it helps us change. It helps us grow. It lessens our ego. It allows our light to shine. And for each one of us, as our light is shining, different things can happen. But the change, the transformation, the refinement, that's the gift we have of Chabad Hasidus. So that was the Sha'ar Blot, the gate page.
Rebbetzin, I just wanted to mention that sometimes, just really, here we're coming back again and again to start all over again to learn the Tanya. And sometimes you don't even have to work on it just by coming and, to the class or doing your daily Tanya. You find yourself changing without even doing the work. I don't know if you know what I mean, but it's almost like it's turning something in your brain so you start thinking differently about things. You know what I mean?
I think you're absolutely right.
Yes, ma'am.
And I think, we have a gift that we are so saturated with the richest, richest, richest stuff out there, the most powerful, powerful stuff out there, that it does impact us on many, many levels. And especially if these are ideas, when we have the beauty of chitas, that every year we re-study the Tanya, or for those of us that say Hayom Yom every day, every year we go through these same thoughts. So I can remember very clearly one year, I don't remember which year it was, a thought in the Hayom Yom, quoting the Tzemach Tzedek. Everything the Hayom Yom is writings of the Rebbe Rayatz, culled by the Rebbe. Often the Rebbe Rayatz is quoting other Rebbeim, quoting the Tzemach Tzedek, who is saying, if we only knew the power of Psalms to evoke kindness and compassion, we would say Psalms all day. Now, here I am. How many times have I restudied that Hayom Yom year in, year out? Many. But one year, I actually heard it. It actually made a difference. It actually lit my fire of like the, wow, look what the Tzemach Tzedek is saying. If we only knew the power, and I've felt that way ever since. So why did it happen that year? You're right. Sometimes it's just again and again and again, and we hear this, and then we hear that, and then we hear this, and then things click without us even realizing, and then like, oh my gosh, wow, look at the power. So you're absolutely right. Absolutely right. And it probably also has something to do with being at the cusp of Mashiach, because the Rebbe said many years ago that all the spirituality of Mashiach is already in our world. That's a very radical, powerful statement that the Rebbe said, and that's printed in an personally edited talk of the Rebbe. All the spirituality of Mashiach is already in the world. So when all that spirituality of Mashiach is already in the world, there's a lot of power to spirituality. And ideas that maybe in a previous time would have taken a lot of work on our part, you're right. We can so quickly sometimes do what would be a very deep spiritual work. And it does go so much faster than it should, because all the spirituality of Mashiach is out there. That's a lot of force helping us do our work. Absolutely. So if we're looking in the Tanya and continuing, because we're looking at the introduction, we just did the Sha'ar Blat, the gate page, the statement of purpose. If you turn the page, the next page says Haskamas. And we have here two, I think in English they call them approbations. What it means is that it's actually a takana, an injunction, that every sefer, every work of Torah, should have somebody writing their letter of approval that, yes, this is a good, godly work. Until today, any book that comes out, they're going to have one or 50 letters of approval. The Alter Rebbe got two. After he finished writing the Tanya, he sent the manuscript to two colleagues of his, meaning these were also part of that inner circle. It was called the Chevraya Kadisha of his Rebbe, the Maggid of Mezrich. And he sent it to both of them for them to create their letter of approval, because that's what we do with the Jewish Sefer, with a book of Torah, an original Torah work. The story is told that both of these great, great luminaries, each one tzaddikim, holy, holy, holy Jews in their own right, they lived at two ends of a very small town called Anipoli. And each one got the work, and each one read it. It's short, and they're very, very holy and very, very brilliant minds, so they read it quite quickly. And each one was so inspired. He wanted to go to his friend on the other side of town to share it with him. So, as we're told, each one like rushes out of his house in the middle of the night, runs through town to go to the other side of town, and in the middle, there's a bridge. So the two of them met on the bridge. If you're a tourist now and you're going to there, the tour guides will show you the bridge. It says the two of them met on the bridge, and they understood and just burst into dancing. And like, look at, as I believe Reb Levi Yitzchak Berdichev said about the Tanya, look what a great God, as we would say the Alter Rebbe, put in such a small book. Look at this unbelievable gift to the Jewish people, the Tanya. So each one of them wrote a letter, and the letters are both affirming the greatness of the Tanya. Both letters allude to the Tanya's role in Mashiach. In both letters, there's the injunction against anyone printing the Tanya, who's not the original printer, for a 5-year ban, as we'll discuss later. And letters of, there's a shorter letter and a longer letter. When we look at what looks like the shorter letter of Rabbi Yehuda Leib HaKohen, there's also references there, allusions to the Baal Shem Tov and the Maggid, whose wells of water the Alter Rebbe drew on. But in both letters, there's reference, allusion to the Tanya bringing Mashiach. What's this connection between the Tanya and redemption? So this goes back to the Baal Shem Tov. The Baal Shem Tov writes the letter that he sent to his brother-in-law who was living in Israel at the time. He writes to his brother-in-law that it was Rosh Hashanah, I do not remember the year, of a certain year, Rosh Hashanah, he had what is called Aliyas HaNeshama, an elevation of his soul, that his soul ascended, and his soul went higher and higher in the spiritual realms until it reached the chamber of Mashiach himself. And his soul entered the chamber of Mashiach, and his soul, connecting to Mashiach himself, said, Emasai Kasimar, my master, when will you come? When will you reveal yourself? And the answer he was told was, Kishayafutsu Mayanosecha Chutza, when your well springs go to the furthest reaches. This was the experience that Baal Shem Tov had on that Rosh Hashanah. And Baal Shem Tov tells his brother-in-law in the letter that, I don't know if we call it a downer, but it was like a hard thought to think that Mashiach is going to come only when his well springs go to the furthest reaches. Like, oh my gosh, that's such a long time. Here he's in, these little villages starting this whole spiritual revival, revolution, and it's going to spread to the furthest reaches. So that was always the mandate and mission of Hasidus. Hasidus is the inner dimension of Torah, and Hasidus therefore connects to the inner dimension of soul, to Mashiach. Hasidus is the highest core, and that highest core is connected to that essence core of Mashiach himself. Like the Rebbe explains, we have Yechida Shebenefesh and Yechida of Torah. The highest level of Torah, the essence level of Torah, and the highest level, the essence level of soul. So the Mashiach of Torah is Hasidus, and the Mashiach of soul is King Mashiach himself. Therefore, through studying and disseminating Hasidus, this allows Melech HaMashiach, the soul of Mashiach himself, to emerge. So now it's not the generation of the Baal Shem Tov. It's not the generation of the Maggid. Now we're already 2 generations away from the Baal Shem Tov. It's a generation of the Alter Rebbe. And the Alter Rebbe is now printing a work that is making God understandable to a human brain. He's taking these deep, secret, mystical ideas, and he's making them, as we would say, user-friendly. We understand them. Is this a massive leap of taking the well springs of Hasidus, the waters of the Baal Shem Tov, and making them reachable to the entire world? This was the vision of the power of Hasidus embedded in the Tanya to spread to the whole world, which of course we know how the Tanya has reached the entire world today, and bring the redemption. And that's why that's the conclusion of both of their letters.
So I have a question, not exactly on this, but since we're starting Tanya again, maybe you already explained, maybe I missed it. Why the book is called Tanya?
I did not explain. You got to wait to hit chapter 1 till you get to that. What I explained last week was the Alter Rebbe did not call it Tanya. He called it Likutei Amarim. He also gave it a subtitle, Sefer Shel Beinonim. The first word of chapter 1 is Tanya, which means we learn. And Hasidim, the followers, the studiers, without knowing why, I'm sure, gravitated to calling this work by its first word, which would be sort of like if you had a book that started once upon a time and you all called the book once, which makes no sense. Tanya means we learn. You're calling the book we learn. So when we reach chapter 1, we will learn the deep mystical power in the word Tanya that I assume most, if not all of the Hasidim were not aware of, but just sort of on their own, without it making much sense or them overthinking it, they called this work Tanya. And I sort of likened it in my head. It's like how we call the synagogue and study hall of the Lubavitcher Rebbe 770, which also in my head makes no sense. You call it building by its numerical address. I don't know the numerical address of many buildings I go to. You go there once, you follow the GPS, and then you go there. You don't know the numbers. I don't know the numbers. So why does the world call the building 770? Well, I don't know why. Many, many, many years after the name was entrenched, the Rebbe exposed and uncovered the deep mystical power in 770. So similarly, when we get to chapter 1, we're going to uncover the deep mystical power in the word Tanya, which is why, probably unknowingly, the followers, the Hasidim, refer to the book not in its official title and not in its subtitle, made by Hasidim, the word Tanya. But thank you, it's a good question. Well, if we turn the page, we have another Haskama. Now, this was after the passing of the Alter Rebbe. So this is not part of the original Tanya of the Alter Rebbe. This was added, but we still view it as holy, and we still, when we're saying our daily Tanya study of Chitas, we read this. This was actually written by the 3 sons of the Alter Rebbe after his passing, when they reprinted, adding sections to the Tanya, sections that were added after the passing of the Alter Rebbe. In the Alter Rebbe's lifetime, we have what we call Tanya, the first section. We have Shar HaYichud VeHaEmunah, what we're currently doing in our Chitas. The Alter Rebbe is teaching us foundational ideas on the unity of God. And we have Igeres HaTshuva, the Alter Rebbe's 12-chapter work on mystically, Kabbalistically, practically, through Hasidus, repentance. 3 sections. 2 more sections were compiled and added after the passing of the Alter Rebbe, the last 2 sections. So now when his sons are printing the Tanya with all 5 sections, they re-evoke this 5-year ban on anyone besides the original printers printing it. And it keeps getting re-evoked every time there's another printing, which there constantly is. So in essence, today, over 200 years after the printing of the Tanya, that 5-year ban is still in effect. And every time the Tanya is reprinted by the original printers, which now that's the printing of Kahas, it's again re-evoked, that 5-year ban of no one besides the authoritative printers printing the Tanya. Unfortunately, there have been Tanyas not through Chabad and going against the ban of the Alter Rebbe that is still in effect even till today. So with that, we can move on to the next page, which we will start next week, which is called Hakdamas HaMelaket, the introduction of the compiler. As I said to you, the Alter Rebbe never calls himself the author. He spent 20 years working on it, but he's not the author. He's the compiler. He took a bunch of ideas and he just pulled them together. His title, the official title, not Tanya, Likutei Amorim. This is a likut. This is a compilation. I'm gathering ideas of other people. I'm gathering concepts of Torah. I'm just pulling it together for you. So this is the introduction of the compiler. This was a letter that the Alter Rebbe wrote to his followers as the Tanya was being printed. It was a difficult, arduous task to print the Tanya, besides the work of proofing and getting out all the mistakes that the haters put in. It was also very difficult because the Russian government was very opposed to more Jewish works being printed. So there were many levels of difficulty. It took a while. And as it was in the works, the Alter Rebbe wrote a letter to his followers. Why did he write this letter? Because he knew that they knew what was happening and they weren't happy. They did not want the Tanya printed. They felt, you're giving us a book? We don't want a book. We want a Rebbe. We don't want a book. We want you. We don't want a book as a guide. We want you as our guide. So in response to those feelings, the Alter Rebbe wrote this letter, Hakdamas HaMelaket, the introduction of the compiler himself. And it's very powerful, has a lot of very powerful ideas of Tanya in it. We will learn that, and then we'll be up to chapter 1, and then we will answer Chava's question, why do we call this Tanya?